As soon as they arrive, they notice something is off. I assume the silent music is giving it away.
マウラーさんマウラーさんフォルトーナさん天馬です。アンナをいやニナを無事に連れ帰りました。マウラーさん
While Dad and Temma notice that the police isn't here, even though Maura promised to call them. Upon entering the living room, Temma finds all three of them dead on the floor. Oddly close to each other, I may add. The nitpick for sure, but it just looks odd. For some reason, Temma then tries to perform mouth-to-mouth on Mr. Fortner, despite him clearly being very dead. And Temma is even checking his eye, which should have already shown him that he's dead. You know, in case all the blood wasn't making it obvious enough. The still absolutely strange soundtrack playing makes the scene pretty bizarre, but it might actually be intended once. He also asks Fortner to come back to life, which reaffirms that despite being face to face with death very often, Tenma somehow still manages to be extremely bothered by the mere concept of it. He then crawls over to Maura and tries the exact same thing. Tenma then sticks a cigarette in Maura's mouth, implicitly saying that the only way to escape Tenma's moral thinking is to die a brutal death. Anna then reveals that she was the one who kept Johann back in the day, or at least tried. We will get that scene in full later on, and if you now think that it's going to be dumb, you are 100% correct. Tenma also explains that he was the one who saved Johann's ass, but Anna's a bit too confused to fully comprehend that one. As they try to leave the house, two policemen stand in front of it and, after a short introduction, start to act as suspiciously as humanly possible. But since Tenma's a dumbass, it takes him a few minutes to pick up on that. Lucky for him, the car gets stopped by another pair of policemen, because the runaway driver happened to be around. But Tenma seizes the moment and jumps off the bridge they were stopping on, accompanied by the special track. Extremely contrived situation, but let's just roll with it. They're bigger fish to fry and I really don't want to spend too much time on every little thing, because if it did, we'd all be dead before episode 40. So please be lenient if I cut it short here and there for the sake of my sanity. Anna then explains the entire backstory of the twins, something the show itself will also do again, but this time in 30 episodes rather than 30 seconds, and without really adding much more meaning or sense to it. And the biggest question, the good old why, is something that is not answered here, and will also never be really answered later. We will get some insights into the how though, but you can probably guess that it won't be without some issues. During the explanation, Anna also mentions that she just threw the gun out of the window after shooting Johann. Police apparently didn't find it, because obviously they would have found the twins' prints on it, which would have raised some questions. The fact that the police didn't find a gun lying under a broken window right outside the house is beyond retarded, but hey, that's something new for the series. Also, Anna collected enough of her composure to shout at Tenma for saving Johann, and the fact that she is 100% correct in doing so means that Tenma's decision was both not morally justified and led to nothing but terrible outcomes. Our protagonist, everyone. Tenma says that he'll go to the police, then immediately explains himself why that is a bad idea currently, following that up with, but we can't just stay here. Well, you could go literally anywhere else though, for example the fucking hospital that you still work at, and maybe then tell the police there to check the two detectives that you suspect killed the Fortners. But that would be smart, so Tenma just goes with, well, I gotta do something, so I guess I could just go to the very same people and just try to get away from by risking my life. This line in particular is interesting in the dub, by the way, because it tries to create a logical connection by saying,
I'm going to the police. If those detectives last night were real, it means that some members of the police force are linked to Johann. If so, we can't just wait here like this.
I have to give that one a, well, nice try, buddy. It sure flows better, but still makes no sense, since Tenma is now saying the police is coming for us, so let us go to the police before the police finds us. Which is even dumber than the blind action as in the original. Also, Anna's voice acting it up is pretty awful.
If you hadn't saved him, Mom and Dad would still be alive. You wouldn't have killed them. Why did you have to save him?
Tenma then advises Anna to take a break and stay away from Johann. After all, she's still alive and has to think about the future. Tenma sees a bunch of reporters blocking the entrance to the police, and one of them is casually racist, one of the few instances of something almost subtle in the show. Almost because, my god, is that a line. However, Tenma also learns that the insane gardener that he left behind was killed by Johann. Before being able to do the dumbest thing he could, he locks out again because in that very moment the guy in front of the police office greets the two detectives working with Johann by name. Obviously, that is the reason why Tenma shouldn't be fucking trying to contact the police around here in the first place, as he himself pointed out, but I've explained it about 5 minutes ago.
それに連邦捜査局のあなたは中年夫婦殺しの件で来てるんでしょ？こっちには城で殺された男の資料しかありませんよ、ルンゲ警部。
Yes, it was said previously that the Big R only gets involved a few days after the local police investigated and got stuck. Yep, the crime happened less than a day ago. He should not be here. But he is, and since he notices that the man was tied up, he begins to search for what he was tied up with. Because Johann apparently removed the nectar and threw it away after killing the guy. For some reason. Lunge finds the thing in the bushes instantly, probably to show what a great detective he is, which clashes heavily with him failing regularly at comprehending basic facts, which we will see a lot more of. Tenma then Virgin walks back to the hideout, but Anna left already, leaving only a message behind. The message itself has no big issues, it's just a bit weird that she asks Tenma to save as many lives as he can, given that him saving Johann's life is what ruined hers. But whatever, I guess she's just that nice. Tenma then takes a train back home, reiterating that it was him who saved the monster, the third time we heard this episode, by the way. But since Naoki thought that 3 was too overused a number, he made sure that Tenma says it twice.